If you know me, you know I talk a lot about temperament and about temperament being the most important thing when you are selecting your new dog. Whether it's for working purposes or companion purposes, temperament should always be the first thing on your mind. Remember that colors fade. Bone structure, if you're looking for beauty, that's what you really want to look at, as well as coat type. But really, truly, it's the dog's soul and heart and their temperament that is going to matter the most when it comes to having that dog in your life for many, many years. So, temperament first. How do we determine temperament? Temperament testing. So what exactly is that and how is it done? That's probably why you're watching this video. If you're getting one of my puppies, you're probably wondering, what do all of these things mean? So that's what we're going to get into. Hi, welcome to Eden Dog, where we're bringing out the best in our very best friends. My name is Annette Wade, and I'm here to coach you on your rewarding journey of dog ownership. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and also if you aren't subscribed, please do consider doing that. So consider hitting that big red button for me and subscribing. And if you do turn on the little bell, just click the bell-shaped button. That'll turn on notifications, and that way you will never miss a video. So I've developed a real personality test. It's the first of its kind, and this temperament test really does evaluate all of the different aspects of a puppy or a dog. My particular temperament test, it divides all dogs into 4 different categories: water, fire, earth, and wind. While I have the initial personality test here, how you raise your puppy is going to bring out either the very best ends of that temperament or the worst. But in the end, right around maturity, that is going to be what you have. As once they reach maturity, the neuroplasticity of the brain really decreases significantly, and their ability to sort of change their personality type is significantly limited by that age. And then once you hit maturity, you can actually come back here and take a quiz that I'm going to put online to find out for sure which type of dog you have. So the very first part of the test we have is a personality test. This divides all dogs into 4 different categories. I have labeled them water, fire, earth, and wind. I only breed for a very specific type of temperament, so I never actually see 2 of those personality types here unless I have a rescue dog or a different breed that I'm bringing in to work with, something like that. But the puppies that I create and raise here are always going to fall into either the water category or the fire category. So what does that mean? I'm going to tell you. Are you familiar with the big 5 personality traits when we measure human personality? That's pretty much what I'm using here for dogs. Dog psychology, canine psychology, is actually extremely similar to human psychology. So we're going to look at these 5 different personality traits. We have agreeableness, extroversion, conscientiousness, neuroticism, and openness. And these are obviously going to mean something completely different in human beings than they mean in dogs. But they're still really the 5 core aspects of any dog's personality. I'm not sure what else we call that, a dogality. That's ridiculous. So bear in mind that these things can't really be measured with full accuracy in infant or toddler puppies, but we can absolutely get a very good baseline. Personality types are really on sort of a continuum. They're not really like in quadrants, like you might think. If we chopped it up into 4, sometimes an animal's right here where they're sort of on the cusp between these 2, or on the cusp between these 2. But you'll understand more as we get through. Also, I want to note that just like human beings, you really can't put dogs into neat little boxes. They are living creatures, and they definitely have their own little soul that makes them who they are. Really, I could go into this, and this video would be really long. So I'll sort of kind of just touch on each trait. What does it mean if your dog is labeled as a water dog? This dog is definitely going to be very affable, very much a social butterfly, a little bit more confident, a little bit more extroverted. They tend to be very childlike, very lighthearted, This dog is usually described as goofy and a little bit rough and tumble. This sort of dog is really your big baby. Typical breed examples of this dog would include a Cocker Spaniel, very merry, happy, or a Golden Retriever, sort of that neighborhood mascot that everybody can come over and just rub all over their head. You may need a dog that is very capable of going everywhere, that requires a ton of public access. For example, a seeing eye dog. You really would want a dog that fits more in the water range because you need a dog that is completely confident, completely open to new experience, and able to lead the way in a very busy environment. These dogs are not necessarily stupid, not at all, but they do tend to have a lower IQ and lower EQ than the Fire. And what can you expect with a Fire? This dog is generally considered fairly intense. This dog really is very passionate, very devoted. They bond very tightly with their people. They will follow you around, try to understand what you're saying. They will make an effort to communicate with you because they feel very connected to you. This dog is very sensitive. They're sensitive in themselves, and they're also very sensitive to your moods and what's going on around you. Because this type of dog is so sensitive and so bonded, they make an excellent emotional support dog or a service dog whose entire job is to focus on you, your moods, your emotions, specifically for a psychiatric service dog, which is what we do tend to use cockapoos for, anxiety disorders, things like that. Fire are more careful, they're more cautious, they don't just throw themselves into things. They have a tendency to do what you want them to do because they are very bonded to you, so long as you have a very good relationship, but they are very soft and they're more likely to hold a grudge. So if you have a bad incident with them, or you know somebody has come into your home and they have sort of a bad interaction with the dog is more likely to remember them, and when they come back, the dog is going to be wary. So again, this is associated with a slightly higher IQ. The breeds that you might associate with Fire more commonly might be the Border Collie, the Standard Poodle, the Australian Shepherd. These are dogs that are extremely devoted to their owners. They will work for hours and hours for their owner. I mean, they will do anything for their owner based on the sheer bond that they have and the working relationship that they have. They're very wary of strangers. They really don't love everybody that they meet, and this particular type of dog does require a special attention to detail when it comes to socializing them as puppies, because you do want to encourage them to be more extroverted, more open to new people and experiences. You do have to make sure you protect them. You do not allow strangers to reach into their personal space without the dog's consent first. This is not a dog that just wants everybody to touch it. This is a dog that wants to know you and give you consent before you can put your hands all over her body. And that's more than fair. Hopefully that gives you a pretty good understanding. Okay, so what else? Apart from the big 5 traits of personality, there are still 2 other aspects to my temperament test. One of those other aspects is what I call reactivity type. Now, this is actually the type of temperament test that is done by other breeders. This is the standard temperament test that has been used for a really long time. It's what's used for seeing eye dogs, guide dogs, working dogs, pretty much every kind of dog. Essentially, as far as I've seen, and I've researched them all, every temperament test that exists right now is this reactivity test. So I have incorporated that. I do think that it is important. It is on a scale of 1 to 5. It's going to test what type of reactivity your dog has. Now, I've broken it up into reactivity to different things. Reactivity to new stimulus in the environment, as well as reactivity to a social stimulation. And those really are very different things, and they do mean different things in your dog. What do I mean by reactivity? In reactivity, we have the 4 Fs. With social situations, we have 4 Fs, and with environmental situations, we really only have 3. So environmental situations, we have fight, flight, and freeze. If there's something that startles the puppy, something new, something different, what is their automatic reactivity type going to be? This is the automatic wiring in the brain. This is very much based on genetics. Does the dog naturally want to fight, rush at the object, bite, bark, or do something that's more assertive? Or does the dog wish to run away? Or does the dog freeze out of fear? So these are really important things to know. This is scaled on a 1 to 5. So 1 is going to be flight reactivity, flight. Freeze is not something that I ever see in my puppies because I have been breeding away from that kind of fear response for a very, very long time. I've gotten rid of sort of the far outliers, so my 1 through 5 scale might be different than somebody else's 1 through 5 scale since I use the average for what I personally have here. And I really don't ever produce puppies that are that fearful where if there's a new stimulus in the environment, they will freeze like prey animals. So again, we have on the 1, we have reactivity, flight. And then as you get towards 3 is bounce. 3 is the center. And the nice thing about 3 is that rather than being reactive, it's more like a react, pause, and response. And that's really what we want to see. A 3 would be ideal. This is a puppy that's sort of startled. They show their brain clicking into a reactivity mindset, and you can see they either kind of come forward or they kind of go backward. Again, going backward would be a flight response and going forward would be a fight response, but they don't really do a lot. They sort of think about it, which switches them out of their automatic kind of primal brain and it moves them more into a conscious, mindful, thoughtful sort of brain where they can respond to the stimulus more with curiosity than with fear. And so this is something that we really, really want to see. Genetic type, if the dog has never been handled or worked with in any way, is always going to either be on the 1 side for flight or on the 5 side for fight. So again, 1 and 2 would be more of your flight. 3 is going to be sort of a pause, curiosity, and respond. And then 4 and 5 is going to be more assertive, fight response. You could actually have a dog that's born that is extremely fearful, might even be closer to like a 1 or a 1.5 if we were talking about a puppy that was raised sort of in a barn, never really handled that much except for maybe changing, which is what a lot of breeders, that's what they do. And for me, I don't raise my puppies that way. So when we're testing our puppies on a reactivity scale, we're not getting the raw genetics. We're getting a puppy that has been worked with and socialized. My goal is to move these puppies, to evaluate them at a very, very early age and start moving them as close to the center as I can get them. Using socialization techniques, behavior techniques, training in the first, especially in the first 16 weeks of life, this can move the dog anywhere on the scale, 1 or a 1.5 points. You really want to have a dog that is as close to a 3 as possible. You really want a more balanced dog that's going to be in the 2, 3, and 4 range. You'll probably see on all of the ratings, which will be next to the dog's name, there will be either a symbol of fire or water, and then there will be a scale of 1 to 5, and you'll probably see a lot of them between 2.5 and 4. And then the last component to the test that I have is going to be energy level. I'm always surprised that I don't see other breeders testing energy level in dogs because this is really something that's important. There are definitely puppies that from day 1, they are just like go, go, go all day long. They want to play, 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 play. And we definitely have puppies that are from day 1 are more like, they want to cuddle and snuggle. And, we've even had puppies that I refer to as cockapoo skin rugs because they just sort of play around and they're fine with that. They're cool. They're little couch puppies, couch potato puppies, and they're fine with that. So what can you expect with your energy levels? Again, these ones I also rate 1 through 5. Sometimes when we're looking at energy level, and we're going to notice that there is going to be a correlation between energy level and reactivity type. The sensitive dog is more likely to have a lower energy level, where they're going to be a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more chill, whereas the higher in reactivity type, you also tend to have higher in energy level. They need a lot more exercise. You can have a dog that is a fight reactivity type and a 1 energy level. That does happen. I'm just talking about trends in my specific dogs when I say that we tend to see energy level kind of match reactivity type on the scale. That is for my kennel, my dogs, and the things that I personally choose for and select for in my parent dogs. As far as other breeds, other dogs, rescues, these guys can be like mixed and matched all over the place when it comes to these temperament evaluations. A 1 is what I might call a puppy skin rug. This is a really, really lazy, mellow dog. This is a dog that's really gonna be a couch potato. I really don't often have 1s. Most people are looking for a little bit more of a mobile companion, and again, a 1 tends to be a very, very soft dog that is not a very big fan of strangers or has a little bit more of a fearful reactivity type, which I don't prefer. So you're very unlikely to see a 1 here with me. A dog that I rate as a number 2 is the kind of dog that you're going to have like morning walks and Netflix kind of evenings. This is a dog that definitely wants his exercise for the day, but he's not very demanding. If there's a blizzard outside, you know, the dog isn't gonna go crazy if he doesn't get his walk. He might not even wanna go out there in the cold. He might look at you like, yeah, let's just chill inside. A little bit of tug of war in the living room and they're pretty much good to go. This is an excellent energy level for somebody that is very busy. If you have a pretty busy day or you're not particularly athletic, this is a really good choice for you. Energy level number 3 is probably my personal favorite. This is sort of what I call train me, walk me, snuggle me. This is a dog that doesn't just live on exercise and cuddle time like maybe number 2, but this is a dog that really does require mental stimulation every single day. You are going to have to include mental stimulation during the day in order for this dog to really be fulfilled and happy. So a little bit of mental stimulation, a little bit of physical stimulation, you know, take them for a walk, play a game with them that day, nothing too intense, and then give them some one-on-one cuddle time or family snuggle time at the end of the day, and they are feeling very well-rounded and satisfied. Puppy that I label as energy level 4, this is going to be your jogging partner. This is somebody that wants to go for hikes with you on the weekends. They're keen to hop on your kayak and swim around next to you. This is something that we definitely see in cockapoos. There are cockapoos that are very avid athletic companions for their humans. This is not going to be, for a cockapoo on a scale of 1 to 5, a 4 is, this is not a marathon dog. This is not a dog that wants to run, you know, the Iditarod. This is a dog that is happy to go for a jog with you, but again, this is still a cockapoo. They're still 20 pounds max. They're not huge. If we were doing this rating, say, for golden doodles, which are a lot larger, a 4 would be a pretty athletic dog. This is a dog that you could genuinely take you training on long runs, or a dog where you could do serious hiking and the dog would be really happy with that. They really need to have at least 1 long walk, or 2 short walks a day would even be better, and playtime is really imperative with this type of dog. And then we've got energy level 5, which is something that I pretty much never have here because I would lose my mind. This is the Iditarod dog. This is a dog that wants to run all day long, every day, play, 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 and if you don't, they can become quite neurotic. I've actually seen dogs that I would scale on a level 5 where they've been rescues, and a lot of times they are given up exactly for that reason, because they become incredibly neurotic when they are not exercised properly. They'll even pull out their own fur. They will chew up things in the house. It's really cruel to have a dog like this and not exercise it every day. If you ever see a dog that you might level as a level 5 or an Iditarod dog, this is a dog where you'd better get a treadmill at home and make sure that you run your dog every single day that you can't get them out, because it's really very cruel to have a dog with this kind of energy and not give them a lot of means to burn this energy off. There is a component of intellectual stimulation that is required. A level 5 is a lot less though. They're really very physical dogs. They're somatic dogs. Level 4 and level 3 are more cerebral than somatic. Food toys, puzzle toys, things like this will actually wear them out. It's a really great way to burn off their energy, as well as increase neuroplasticity in their brain, keep them learning, keep them healthy and young. So puzzle toys are really, really excellent for any dog. The only thing when it comes to energy level is that sometimes it does change. Usually it is the very big puppies in the litter or a very small puppy in the litter. So a puppy that is really little in a litter will sometimes seem kind of meek and quiet, and I try to get them alone as much as possible to see how they behave. But sometimes we get a little puppy here that's meek, they're quiet, I give them maybe a rating of a 2 and an energy level of a 2, and then they go home and they have no puppies around them competing for all their resources, and their energy level turns into a 3 or a 4, although usually they're reactivity type might be still around a 2 or 2.5. It might bump up a little bit. And sometimes I have the big puppy in the litter where he is really playful, he's the big guy, so he can just roll everybody whenever he wants to, right? So he's just kind of happy, jovial, easy-go-lucky, and I might rate him as like a 4 energy level and temperament, reactivity type. And then he might get home and all of a sudden he's not surrounded by his brothers and sisters, and he's not feeling quite so big anymore. And the world is really big, and so he's sort of a little bit like off his game, and he's not quite sure what's going on. How he is introduced in the new home and how he is cared for could really impact his temperament, because if he goes into the new environment and he doesn't feel secure and he doesn't quickly become secure, this might drop his temperament rating down by a point. And usually, again, energy level sort of goes with that. Now that's something where they could warm back up, come out of their shell, and then go back to where they were before. But again, when this sort of thing happens, usually they go down about at least a 0.5 point from where I originally marked them. So again, even though I test these puppies individually away from their brothers and sisters to see how they respond to different stimuli, they do act different once they go to their new home. They're no longer around their brothers and sisters. They're no longer around their familiar environment. They don't have their mom anywhere nearby, and everything is completely new, people, everything. And so sometimes they do either come out of their shell a little bit more, or they kind of pull back a little bit and say, maybe I'm not such a big fish in a small pond anymore. Again, I believe that the energy level typically corresponds with the reactivity level, but that's not always the case. So you will see every single puppy, and you are going to find that a lot of them are going to be extremely similar, and that is because they are siblings. So I told you a little bit about what I actually measure when it comes to personality types. I categorize them. I give you reactivity level from 1 through 5, and I give you an energy level from 1 through 5. But how do I get these results? And that is a very complicated answer. I really have a whole lot of tests. So how do I do these different temperament evaluations? What do I do in order to get to my conclusions? That is a very good question, and it's one I'm not going to answer because I spent 10 years developing these tests, and they're really, really important to me, so I really don't want to give them away. While our specific tests are secret, I will tell you that they are very gentle. They're done with lots of love. We never push our puppies past any kind of limits. We never flood our puppies. We do not push them into situations in which they are genuinely uncomfortable. We do not cause them physical discomfort. And in general, we make sure that the entire experience is very pleasant for them so that we do not cause any kind of neurotic behaviors from the test itself. Well, I hope that answers your questions and doesn't just create a whole lot more, but that will give you a pretty good idea of a starting point, give you something to think about, what maybe you will be looking for, since I really push for a specific kind of grouping of dogs. You're going to see that a lot of my puppies are really more towards the center. We really work on moderation. Anytime that I do have a puppy that I think has a very extreme personality type in any area, that is something that I will make very clear. It's not really going to narrow things down that much for you because they are related, and I do work so hard at getting nice homogenized groups where we can really know what to expect when it comes to temperament and energy level and reactivity type. Okay guys, so that's it for this video, and if you did enjoy this video, if it was helpful, please give me a thumbs up. That helps me out, and leave a comment down below telling me what type of personality you have. Would you fit into a water or fire camp? Leave a comment down below and let me know. All right guys, see you in the next one.